Part 104. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 1031. Chapter 1031. They have another kind of care. Tanguoer's eyes lit up immediately after hearing this. She grabbed the staff member's arm excitedly and asked, "Who is that boy? I really want to thank him in person." After all, Meow Meow and Mimi met Tanguoer when they were so young. Tanguoer watched them grow up, and she saved their lives, so they meant a lot to Tanguoer. If her mother wasn't allergic to animal hair, Tanguoer would definitely adopt them. Now that she met a boy who was so good to them, Tanguoer felt that she now had a mother's mentality. She really wanted to know who the man was so good to her daughters and wanted to thank him in person. "He is also here today, do you want to meet him?" the staff said with a smile. "Okay, thank you." Tanguoer immediately became excited and turned to look at Xia Ying, they will have names in the future, and besides me, there is another person who likes them so much. I am really happy. Tanguoer is a person who can't hide her thoughts. All the joy in her heart is shown on her face. Needless to say, Xia Ying has already seen it. Yes, they have more care. He made Meow and Mimi so healthy, maybe, he is a doctor. No, maybe, he is a pharmacologist. Xia Ying spoke up, interrupting Tanguoer's words, because Xia Ying had already recognized the figure from a distance as that of her 12th cousin. Tanguoer was stunned and looked at Xia Ying in confusion. "What's wrong with you?" Xia Ying's tone when she said that just now was not quite right, and her current expression was one of surprise. Tanguoer followed Xia Ying's line of sight and saw Chu Shengming. Tanguoer's eyes widened and she covered her mouth. "Chu Shengming? Why is he here?" "Oh, that's the caring boy I told you about." The staff enthusiastically introduced Tanguoer and Xia Ying. When Xia Ying and Tanguoer approached, they discovered that Chu Shengming was squatting on the ground, playing with the two kittens with his bare hands. Tanguoer was shocked. The two weak kittens she saw before have now grown into round, fluffy and looked extremely cute. However, this was not the only thing that surprised Tanguoer. Rather, wasn't Chu Shengming a germaphobe? "I touched the kittens before and hurriedly disinfected them with disinfectant because I thought they were stray cats. Why am I now petting the cats with my bare hands?" It is really very different from his previous performance. Xia Ying was also shocked, because in her opinion, her 12th cousin was not the kind of person who likes small animals, right? Probably because he has experienced a lot of experiments on animals in the laboratory, so in Chu Shengming's eyes, these cats and dogs have nothing to do with cuteness, they are just experimental subjects. It's just that Xia Ying was completely intoxicated when she saw Chu Shengming's expression as warm as the spring breeze. It was obvious that he liked those two cats very much. "That's him, although he doesn't want to reveal his name. You are also destined to be there. He happens to be here today." The staff member's words made Chu Shengming turn around and face two surprised faces. Chu Shengming's body stiffened and the smile on his face froze. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 1032. Chapter 1032. Do you want to use them for research? Chu Shengming. Tanguoer was stunned and didn't know what to say for a moment. She had never thought that that person would be Chu Shengming, although theoretically he was the most likely person. It was he who brought Meow Meow and Mimi here. But Chu Shengming was indeed very weird to Tanguoer, so he never thought it was him. 12 cousin, why are you here?" Xia Ying said in surprise. "I." Chu Shengming blinked twice quickly, then stood up, looked at the astonished Xia Ying and Tanguoer in front of him, and explained, "There happened to be a research project related to animals recently, so I often come here to take a look. The health of the two cats was not very good, so I helped with their care." It seemed to be a perfect explanation, but Xia Ying quickly saw the flaws in it. Chu Shenming's explanation seemed somewhat unnecessary. He probably guessed that the staff had told Xia Ying and Tanguo what he had done these days, so he simply explained it together. However, the question Xia Ying just asked was just to ask why he was here. His explanation gave a sense of déjà vu, as if there were no 300 taels of silver in this place. Xia Ying pursed her lips and smiled. She did not expect that her 12th cousin, who was usually so strict, would behave like this at a loss. After Chu Shengming finished speaking, he felt that it was not appropriate. He pursed his lips and dodged his eyes. Tanguo naturally didn't think that deeply. Instead, she looked at Chu Shengming in horror and asked, "Do you want to use them for research?" Chu Shengming was stunned and immediately shook his head. "No, of course not, just observing some of their habits and special reactions. In short, it will not harm them." "That's good." Tanguo held her chest and breathed a sigh of relief, then looked at Chu Shengming with a pair of shining eyes, and said with a smile, "Thank you, Chu Shengming, the names Miao Miao and Mimi are particularly nice. If without you, how could they be so healthy and happy now?" Chu Shengming nodded slightly and was dazzled by Tanguo's bright smile. "You're welcome, it's just a little effort." Xia Ying suddenly felt that the atmosphere was a bit ambiguous and strange, so she smiled evilly. "Well, little Candy, I suddenly remembered that I had something important to do, and my 12th cousin happened to be here, so, just you two let's get together, I'll go back first." Tanguo was slightly stunned. How could Xia Ying leave her behind? "Didn't you say she was fine this afternoon?" Xia Ying winked at Chu Shengming again. "12th cousin, when the time comes, can you please send our little Candy home? Looking at the sky outside, it seems like it's going to rain heavily." Xia Ying turned around and looked at the sky outside. It was already gray, as if a heavy downpour was going to fall in the next second. Chu Shenming's brows furrowed. Xia Ying's thoughts could not escape his eyes, but at the moment, it was difficult for him to reveal them because of a simple little Candy. Still in the dark, she stupidly asked Xia Ying, "Then be careful on the road and send me a message when you get there." "Yeah, I will." Xia Ying nodded. "Oh, that's right." Tanguo lowered her head again, looking for something in her bag, then took out a small pink lace umbrella and handed it to Xia Ying. "This is for you, if you are on the way. If it rains, use this before you get a taxi." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 1033. Chapter 1033. You can catch a cold easily if you wear so little. "Okay, thank you, my little Candy," Xia Ying said, stretched out her hand and pinched Tanguo's soft cheek, and then glanced meaningfully at Chu Shengming. Chu Shengming moved his throat and silently avoided Xia Ying. Xia Ying turned around and left. "Chu Shengming, if you have something to do, you don't have to worry about me. I'll just take a look at Miao Miao and Mimi, play with them for a while and then go back." Tanguo raised his head and said to Chu Shengming. Chu Shengming lowered his eyes, looked at Tanguo's pretty face, and said expressionlessly, "I'm fine." "You gave the umbrella to Xia Ying. If it really rains later, what will you do?" "Manage." Tanguo's eyes widened. I can call the driver. This area is off limits." Chu Shengming added. "Okay, save time." Chu Shengming interrupted coldly, then squatted down and looked at the two kittens. The kittens rubbed Chu Shengming's ankles affectionately. It was obvious that they had deep feelings for Chu Shengming, otherwise, they would not be so close to him. Tanguo also squatted down, then reached out and gently stroked the kitten's body. The kitten rubbed its head against Tanguo's hand, which made Tanguo feel tickled and giggled twice. Chu Shengming looked at Tanguo from the corner of his eye. She smiled very pure, as innocent as a child. Meow meow meow, do you still remember me? I will come to see you often, don't forget me. Tanguo whispered this to them. Chu Shenming occasionally turned his face to look at Tanguo, and occasionally looked at the two kittens. It was strange, he had never felt this way about animals before. But these two kittens actually aroused his love and affection for animals for the first time. Is it because you personally rescued the animal that you have such a special feeling? Chu Shenming himself couldn't explain clearly. At this time, Chu Shenming's eyes suddenly and inadvertently glanced at Tanguo's back, and there was a hint of bright red. Chu Shenming frowned, thought for a while, then took off his coat and put it on Tanguo. Chu Shenming's coat, worn on Tanguo's smaller body, could just cover her buttocks. Tanguo felt his body sink. He looked up and found that Chu Shenming had put his coat on himself. Tanguo opened her mouth and was about to say something when Chu Shenming interrupted, "The wind is very strong. You wear so little, you can catch a cold easily." Tanguo looked out the window. It was about to rain heavily. The wind outside was indeed blowing very hard. The cold wind came in through the closed window, which really gave people goosebumps. "But you." "I'm in good health and don't get sick easily." "Thanks." Tanguo thanked her in a low voice, and when she lowered her head again, her face turned red. Tanguo was already small, so Chu Shenming's coat almost covered her whole body, tightly. Tanguo lowered his head slightly and could smell the faint fragrance belonging to Chu Shenming. After leaving the pet shelter, it was already raining heavily outside. Chu Shenming sent Tanguo to the door of his house. "Thank you, Chu Shenming, I will go back first. You, please be careful on the way." When Tanguo said this, there was a hint of shyness on his face. "Go back and drink more hot water, don't catch a cold." Chu Shen meditated on something and said lightly, looking a little unnatural. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuen Suya. Chapter 1034. Chapter 1034. Mom teaches you how to do it. Tanguo was shocked by Chu Shenming's rare gentle tone. She was stunned for a long time before answering, "Okay, thank you." Tanguo turned around and left. The moment he turned around, his expression immediately changed. He closed his eyes, and all the joy that he had just tried to restrain burst out at this moment. Chu Shenming gave her a coat to wear and sent her home. When they went home, they walked for a while holding an umbrella. Chu Shenming also cared about her and asked her to drink more hot water. Tanguo felt that her whole day was perfect. After seeing Tanguo enter the house, Chu Shenming turned around and left. When Tanguo returned home, the servants at home immediately approached her with concern and asked her where the heavy rain had gone, and asked her to drink some soup to warm her body. "Ah, miss, behind your back." The servant suddenly screamed in surprise. At this moment, Tanguo's mother came over and saw the servant whispering something to Tanguo. Tanguo took off the large coat on her body, and the servant he noticed something was wrong and whispered to Tanguo. Tanguo's face immediately turned red. Tang's mother walked over, and Tanguo quickly ran to the bathroom to change clothes. When did she accidentally soil her clothes? Did Chu Shenming see it just now? Tanguo suddenly felt a little embarrassed and prayed that Chu Shenming didn't see it. Tang's mother looked at the boy's clothing that Tanguo put on the coffee table, curled her lips, picked it up and looked at it. Well, according to the size of this dress, the boy must be at least 1.85 meters tall. He probably discovered that Tanguo had accidentally soiled his clothes, so he put his own clothes on her body. Because Tanguo was a thin-skinned person, he didn't tell her. The more Tang's mother thought about it, the more satisfied she became with this future son-in-law whom she had not yet had a chance to meet. After Tanguo changed her clothes and came over, looking at Tang's mother's weird smile, Tanguo's face immediately turned red, and then she snatched the dress from Tang's mother's hand, This is dirty, take it. Wash. Stop. Tanguoer had just turned around when she was stopped by Tang's mother. Tanguoer's face instantly drooped. She had a bad premonition and slowly turned around to look at Tang's mother. Tang's mother sat on the sofa, looked at Tanguoer with a half smile, and coughed twice. It's already this time, you still want to hide it from me. Tanguoer sat down next to Tang's mother and asked puzzledly, what did I hide from you? This. Tang's mother pointed to the coat in Tanguoer's hand and said with a smile, it's already like this, aren't you going to tell mom who that person is? Tanguoer was stunned for a moment and then realized that her mother might have misunderstood something and thought she and Chu Shengming were together. No, it's not what you think, we are still friends now. Tanguoer waved his hand and explained. Tang's mother frowned, obviously dissatisfied with the answer, don't you like him? How could you become friends with him? Once the other party regards you as a friend, it is true and there is no chance. Tanguoer scratched the back of his head uncomfortably, not knowing what to say. Mother Tang naturally understands her daughter's character, so she probably wouldn't be able to do such a thing. A confession or something is enough to torture her. Candy, come here, mommy will teach you how to make it. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuen Suya. Chapter 1035. Chapter 1035 Woman, you are really wordy. Not long after Xia Ying left the pet shelter, it started pouring rain on the road. Xia Ying opened the umbrella Tanguoer gave her, but then the rain got heavier and heavier. Xia Ying walked to the roadside to hide under an eaves and wait until it rains less before setting off. Xia Ying looked at the heavy rain outside and listened to the raindrops in her ears. Inexplicably, her thoughts drifted into the distance. A rainy day is a day suitable for days and meditation. Xia Ying looked at the gray sight in front of her and fell into deep thought unconsciously. Xia Ying looked around casually and saw a faint figure of a child not far away, leaning against a pillar, as if asleep. The winter rain was already shady, not to mention that the child seemed to be wearing very thin clothes. Without thinking much, Xia Ying walked into the heavy rain holding an umbrella and walked towards the child. As Xia Ying approached, she realized that the child was really asleep. The small face looked very pale at the moment, maybe because of the cold, without any color at all. The long eyelashes are hanging down, trembling slightly, and the thin lips are really a cute doll. Xia Ying took one look and her heart melted. The little boy still had a lollipop in his mouth. Although he fell asleep, the lollipop was still held at the end and did not fall out. Why did such a cute little boy fall asleep here? The temperature is so low now, how on earth did he fall asleep in such an environment? And it seemed that the child seemed to be sleeping peacefully. Xia Ying took off her coat and covered the little boy. The little boy fell into a deep sleep and did not wake up. Xia Ying stood up and waited for the rain to stop. Not long after, the little boy moved and felt a strange feeling and smell invading his surroundings. The little boy suddenly opened his eyes, and Xia Ying's tall and graceful body immediately caught the little boy's sight. The little boy moved a little, and the coat slipped off. The little boy threw the coat aside in disgust, and his thick eyebrows furrowed. It was strange that he didn't wake up when someone came close to him. No matter how deeply I sleep, this kind of thing should not happen. The little boy looked at Xia Ying again. Because she gave him her coat, Xia Ying was only wearing a knitted sweater, with her arms folded, and her body was shivering slightly because of the cold. The little boy's brows furrowed even more. How can there be such stupid people? Giving your coat to a stranger, you are left to suffer the cold. Xia Ying heard something and looked back, seeing the little boy biting a lollipop waking up and looking at her with a pair of blue eyes. Those eyes are really beautiful, exactly the same as Qian Yin's. Unexpectedly, she met a mixed-race person. Little boy, are you awake? Xia Ying approached him, but he instinctively retracted his body to avoid Xia Ying. Don't worry, I'm a good person. Xia Ying said with a sweet voice, what's your name? Why are you here? Where are your parents? The little boy looked at Xia Ying with disgust on his face, and coldly tilted his head away from Xia Ying. Woman, you are really long-winded. Xia Ying was stunned for a moment. How could this tone and this baby girl be the same as a domineering president? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 1036. Chapter 1036. What a troublesome and nosy woman. What? Xia Ying was confused by this child. For a moment, she didn't know how to answer him. I tell you, while you are still alive, you'd better leave a meaningful last word, otherwise, my sword is not discerning. The little boy had dark eyes, biting a lollipop, and threatened vaguely. Xia Ying was stunned. His expression seemed to be frozen, motionless. The little boy said proudly, what, now you know you are afraid. Ha 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 ha. The little boy's face froze. What is this woman laughing at? Xia Ying laughed so hard that she almost burst into tears. Has this little milk baby read too many novels or too many dramas? When he opens his mouth, everything he says are lines from the TV series. You know? You look very much like a friend of mine, and he is also a Chuyunibu. Oh, isn't it? You are so young, you should not be old enough to suffer from Chuyunibu. Xia Ying was talking very enthusiastically by herself, but the little boy twitched the corner of his mouth and was holding back something. He just took the lollipop and was about to make some move. Suddenly, someone grabbed his face. Xia Ying pinched the little boy's soft face, then smiled and said, ouch, what should I do, you are so cute. The little boy was so angry that he couldn't speak. Then he reached out and grabbed Xia Ying's hand. He gritted his teeth and said, woman, you are playing with fire. Ah ha 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 ha. The little boy was already mad, gritting his teeth to hold back something. This woman, the majestic leader of the Kincha clan, was actually teased by her like this. How could he keep his face if she told her, and why would he continue to hang out on the street? I order you to stop. If you laugh again, I will take action even if you don't say you are a woman. Xia Ying laughed so hard that she burst into tears. She never expected that she would encounter such a precious treasure on the road. She looked soft and cute, and her words sounded like the golden words of a domineering president of a romance novel. Okay, stop making trouble, kid, can I take you home? If you don't believe me, I'll take you to the police uncle and ask them to help you find your parents, okay? I have no parents. Xia Ying's smile immediately dissipated. What about your other relatives? Where is your guardian? This little boy looks like he is only 10 years old. His parents are gone. He is really pitiful. I have no relatives or guardians. So poor. Xia Ying sighed with emotion. The little boy gritted his teeth and replied, you are so pitiful. I live well by myself, but you, a woman, are really troublesome. Xia Ying found that the little boy seemed to be seriously angry, but why? I tell you, stay away from me and don't stand in the way of my revenge. The little boy was ready to leave after finishing speaking. Hey, the rain hasn't stopped yet. Xia Ying shouted behind the little boy. However, without waiting for any response, Xia Ying simply chased after him and handed her umbrella into the boy's hand. The little boy looked up at Xia Ying expressionlessly. What are you doing? Don't catch a cold, just take it. Just as the little boy was about to say something, Xia Ying had already braved the rain and ran back under the eaves. The little boy stood in the rain holding an umbrella, looking at Xia Ying not far away, and whispered, what a troublesome and nosy woman. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 1037. Chapter 1037. Yu Lingfeng is your boyfriend, right? Also, this is a pink, lace umbrella. How can he, an old man, hold it out? Could this woman be deliberately humiliating him? Qian Yanjia was just about to throw away the umbrella in anger, but at this moment, Xia Ying actually ran out in the rain. Qian Yanjia stood there stunned for a long time. Woman, if he left it alone, it would be his fault if the woman was washed away by the water halfway. After all, she had just given him the umbrella. So, Qian Yanjia had no choice but to angrily hold an umbrella and chase Xia Ying. Hello, hello. Xia Ying vaguely seemed to hear a familiar voice behind her, so she turned around and saw the little boy walking toward her with a dark face and holding a pink lace umbrella. Xia Ying stopped and looked at the little boy funny. Hey, kid, why are you back again? The little boy didn't answer, he just walked up to Xia Ying, stood on tiptoes, and held up an umbrella for Xia Ying. Xia Ying was stunned for a moment. What are you doing? I don't want you to run away after giving me the umbrella, fall into a smelly ditch and be washed away by the water. Qian Yanjia's tone was filled with disgust. Xia Ying. What kind of people does she deal with every day? Okay then, do you want to take me home? Qian Yanjia had a straight face and did not answer the question, as if I don't even bother to talk to you. Xia Ying shook her head helplessly and prepared to go over and take the umbrella from the little boy. After all, he was small and it was inconvenient to stand on tiptoes like this. Unexpectedly, the little boy moved his body and had no intention of giving the umbrella to Xia Ying. What are you doing? Let me lift it. Xia Ying said. Need not. Qian Yanjia's eyes were cold. I have not fallen to the point of asking a woman to hold an umbrella for me. Xia Ying. This child's mental age really needs to be examined. At this time, a luxury car pulled over and a man in a suit stepped out. The man held a large black umbrella to cover Xia Ying, and then bowed slightly to Xia Ying. Ms. Sorry, we are late. It doesn't matter. Xia Ying smiled faintly, then looked at Qian Yanjia. I did meet a very interesting person. Qian Yanjia met Xia Ying's eyes and asked, who are you? Qian Yanjia had a vague premonition that was not good. I am Xia Ying. Xia Ying answered Qian Yanjia's question with a warm smile. As soon as Xia Ying finished speaking, Qian Yanjia's eyes suddenly opened wide. She turned out to be the legendary Xia Ying. The corners of Qian Yanjia's mouth raised slightly, and he had a good idea in his mind. Yu Lingfeng is your boyfriend, right? This time it was Xia Ying's turn to be surprised. How did this child know about Yu Lingfeng? Who are you? Xia Ying did not answer him, but asked this question. You don't need to know this, you just need to tell me where Yu Lingfeng is. Qian Yanjia's expression was very cold, and every word was squeezed out from between his teeth. He has been looking for Yu Lingfeng during this period, but there is no trace. He guessed that Yu Lingfeng hid because he knew he was going to cause trouble for him. What a coward. Xia Ying suddenly had an unexplainable feeling in her heart. She vaguely felt that the child in front of her might not be just for fun. The words he had just said were dangerous when considered now. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 1038. Chapter 1038. Take me to Yu Lingfeng. However, he looked like just a child. Could such a child be the kind of person who comes to trouble Yu Lingfeng? Xia Ying suddenly felt that the world was becoming more and more wonderful. What do you want to do with Yu Lingfeng? Xia Ying asked directly. At this moment, Xia Ying's face turned completely gloomy, without any trace of the smile or friendliness she had just now. Qian Yanjia also noticed the change in Xia Ying and couldn't help but sneered in his heart. This This stupid woman didn't just realize that he is a person who is not easy to deal with. She had been humiliating him as a little brat just now. If she hadn't seen that she was a beautiful young lady, ah no, she was a woman, he would have torn her apart. I am going to kill him. Qian Yanjiu didn't mean to hide anything. When he said this, the expression on his face was so cold that people didn't dare to look directly at him. It's hard to believe that such a look could appear on a child's face. What exactly did he go through? You, don't tell me, you are just. Xia Ying paused for a moment before speaking out the three words tremblingly, Qian Yanjiu. It's me. Qian Yanjiu put down the lollipop in a ceremonial manner and continued. How old are you? Xia Ying simply couldn't believe that the so-called leader of the Qincha gang, the so-called mysterious figure number 1 on the killer list, was a child. A kid still chewing on a lollipop? 13. Qian Yanjiu put the lollipop back into his mouth, straightened his body and looked at Xia Ying with an expression of "Do you have any objections?" OMG. Xia Ying was shocked, 13 years old. Are you kidding? Are you Qincha's gang leader, the number 1 killer on the rankings? What's wrong, can't I do it? Qian Yanjiu rolled his eyes at Xia Ying. Why did this woman look at him so flatly that she looked down on him? He started killing people at the age of 9, and became the leader of Qincha's gang at the age of 13. How can this woman question his ability? Are you dreaming or am I? Xia Ying touched her forehead. Was she hallucinating? At this time, the driver who had been silent next to Xia Ying laughed. Qian Yanjiu raised his eyes and glared at him. Then Xia Ying only felt a black shadow flash past. When she reacted, the tall man next to her, the driver, had already fallen straight down. Xia Ying looked back when she heard the sound, and saw a lollipop stuck in the driver's chest. Xia Ying's pupils dilated instantly, and she looked at Qian Yanjiu in horror. At this time, the lollipop in his mouth was gone. Now, can you believe that I am Qian Yanjiu? Qian Yanjiu took out a clean white handkerchief from his pocket and wiped his hands carefully. His methodical appearance really seemed like the style of an experienced hand. Xia Ying wanted to run away, but as soon as she turned around, Qian Yanjiu was already in front of her. Xia Ying's eyes widened. What do you want to do? Take me to Yu Lingfeng, otherwise, this will be your fate. Qian Yanjiu squinted his eyes and pointed at the driver on the ground who had long since expired. You crazy person. Xia Ying gritted her teeth and cursed. I am a madman, a murderous madman, you know now, it's too late. Qian Yanjiu sneered. I repeat it for the last time, take me to see Yu Lingfeng. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 1039. Chapter 1039, Child, isn't it good to be alive? You asked me to take you to see Yu Lingfeng, so I went. Wouldn't that make me lose face? Xia Ying seemed to be deliberately irritating him, but also seemed to be delaying time. Yu Lingfeng is now in the castle. The place is very secretive. Qian Yanjiu must have been looking for it for a long time. After searching for a long time without any clues, he met his girlfriend at this time. Naturally, he hoped that Xia Ying would take him to Yu Lingfeng. If you don't want to, I will certainly find a way. Qian Yanjiu sneered, then took 2 steps closer to Xia Ying, half squinted his eyes, and said, I think he should care about you as his girlfriend. If I kidnap you, he will definitely come out on his own looking for me. After Qian Yanjiu finished speaking, he was about to grab Xia Ying, but as soon as he reached out, a hand suddenly appeared and knocked him away. Qian Yanjiu immediately retracted his hand in pain, and then looked at the person intently. The man had an outstanding appearance and extraordinary bearing. When he looked at him, His eyes were extremely cold. This must be the good-looking little brother in Hamagua's mouth, Qian Yanjiu thought, the corners of his mouth raised slightly. He had been looking for him for so long, and finally waited for him to appear. However, Qian Yanjiu still feels a dull pain in his arm. The strength of Yu Lingfeng cannot be underestimated. Little brat, haven't your parents ever taught you to be gentle with girls? Yu Lingfeng said while protecting Xia Ying behind him. Little brat. Qian Yanjiu's face suddenly darkened, and then he gritted his teeth and stared at Yu Lingfeng. Since Qian Yanjiu was a child, he hated being called a brat the most, and the second most hated being called his parents. As soon as this Yu Lingfeng appeared, he violated two of his taboos, and their hatred deepened a few more times. Yu Lingfeng, how good are you at hiding these days? Why, you just came out now, do you dare to accept my challenge? Qian Yanjiu crossed his arms, looked at Yu Lingfeng's handsome and refined face, and spoke word by word. Yu Lingfeng had a cold face and frowned, I don't want others to think that I bully children. Let's do this. When you are 18 years old, it will not be too late to come to me for revenge. After Yu Lingfeng finished speaking, he took Xia Ying's hand and prepared to leave. Stop. Qian Yanjiu was completely angered. Yu Lingfeng, let me tell you, if you don't accept my challenge, I won't let your little girlfriend go. Yu Lingfeng paused for a moment, turned around and looked at him, and sneered, my child, isn't it good to be alive? He really didn't want to do anything to such a juicy child. You and I, only one can live today. Qian Yanjiu gritted his teeth and spoke word by word. Then he took out a lollipop from his pocket, opened the candy wrapper, and stuffed it into his mouth. His right cheek immediately bulged. I have to say, this kid looks pretty cute like this, if he hadn't come to Yu Lingfeng to fight to the death. Yu Lingfeng's brows moved, feeling helpless, I don't want to kill you. When you grow up, I'll stay with you till the end. How about that? No. How can I be humiliated by someone like you? I am the gang leader of Qinsha and the #1 killer. I am fully capable of knocking you down. As soon as Qian Yanjiu finished speaking, he rushed towards Yu Lingfeng. With quick eyes and quick hands, Yu Lingfeng pushed Xia Ying away and was forced to fight with Qian Yanjiu. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 1040. Chapter 1040. Get this disgusting thing away from me. 3 minutes later. Let me go quickly, you can either kill me if you look like this, how can I save my face? Xia Ying was holding her belly and laughing happily. Yu Lingfeng didn't know that he had tapped Qian Yanjiu's acupuncture point. Now Qian Yanjiu could not move at all. Yu Lingfeng hugged him sideways, as if he was teaching a little kid a lesson. Yu Lingfeng reached out and patted Qian Yanjiu's in a funny way, if you make trouble again, I will take a photo of you like this and put it on the internet, then throw you into the trash can and wait for your men to come and get you. Despicable and shameless. If you have the ability, don't use these despicable methods and fight to the death with me. Qian Yanjiu is still obsessed with the unfinished fight with Yu Lingfeng just now. He hasn't faced such a powerful opponent for a long time, and he felt very good playing against him. But he didn't feel happy for long. Yu Lingfeng actually used a trick to make him unable to move. This is not some dirty trick, this is the acupuncture technique of traditional Chinese medicine. I just used it to improve it. What, do you want to learn it? Qian Yanjiu snorted twice and said disdainfully, crooked way. Ouch. Unexpectedly, Yu Lingfeng reached out and spanked his again, which made him scream out in pain. You came out to be a killer when you were a teenager. It seems that you haven't studied hard. If you have time, you'd better read a book carefully. Regarding revenge, you can challenge me again in 5 years. Yu Lingfeng said, putting Qian Yanjiu aside, and placed the small pink lace umbrella on Qian Yanjiu's body. She can be killed but not humiliated. Get this disgusting thing away from me. Qian Yanji roared. Yu Lingfeng smiled and joked, how can you be such a straight man at such a young age? If you didn't have this umbrella, you would have caught a cold in the rain. I would rather catch a cold. Every cell in Qian Yanjiu's body is rejecting it. Yu Lingfeng still didn't take it away, but turned and left with Xia Ying. Take the umbrella away from me. Qian Yanjiu's angry voice came over. Xia Ying looked back at Qian Yanjiu, who was glaring at Yu Lingfeng angrily. Yu Lingfeng, does he not care? Are you going to stand there all the time? Yu Lingfeng glanced sideways at Qian Yanjiu and said, it's okay. I've already informed Hamagiwa. He will come to pick him up. Hamagiwa is his subordinate. Oh. Xia Ying nodded, then couldn't help but look back at Qian Yanjiu and muttered, Yu Lingfeng, do you think Qian Yanjiu and Qian Yin's look a bit similar? Yu Lingfeng frowned slightly, I didn't pay attention to this. Don't all foreigners look similar? Xia Ying chuckled, no way. Qian Yanjiu looked at Xia Ying and Yu Lingfeng's sweet display of affection from behind with a dark face, and was so angry that he was about to explode. This is the biggest shame of his career. He will definitely come back again. He wants to seek revenge on Yu Lingfeng. When Hamigu arrived, he saw the arrogant gang leader, holding a small pink lace umbrella, standing there motionless with a dark face, surrounded by girls taking pictures. They all exclaimed, so cute. So handsome. Hami Melon patted his forehead and felt inexplicably panicked. It's incredible, their gang leader looks like he wants to eat people, it's really scary. Hami Melon feels that he will not feel better after a while. End of this chapter.